In socialist country, the individual has to be transparent, so you cannot hide anything. So the transparency demand you dissolve your own privacy. There's no more privacy. So that's the black and white part. So throughout the film, but the police doesn't appear in the film. And then you see the beginnings, the narrative parts, the color part is supposed objective village progress, their daily event, their narrative event. So the camera is more kind of fictional camera, it's more hiding camera. I think the difficulty for me for particular this film is how to conduct most of the actors are peasants, like real local peasants who cannot even understand Mandarin. Yeah. So in China you have local language, like India, you have many language, and then you have official language, Mandarin. But so those peasants, because of course I don't believe to find actors, you're crazy. You cannot find a creamy, cheesy actor to play a peasant. It's gonna ruin the film. So of course I cast the real street people. Yeah. So these peasants, of course, these people we found in the street, and the difficulty is to make him understand, to look into the camera, not to look at camera, but look at other people, look at landscape, thinking his own wife or house all the time, But he doesn't understand, of course. He doesn't understand the camera presenting the police POV. So you have to say something very simple and crazy to him to make him understand. And then when he was with the main actress, which is Kwok Yun, this woman who sells the UFO in the beginning, and the chief Chan, she's also professional. So there's two professionals. The chief is very strong, powerful actors, the old woman, because she's presenting the Mao, but female Mao Zedong, so she's really great with performance. And then they go crazy because the non-professional and professional, it doesn't work out in the first place. So that's my way of...
But for example, the black and white or all these kind of problems, you have to, you know them at the beginning, but how do you write them? How do you prepare a film like that?
I indicate very clear. So of course, although I come from writer background, I'm supposed to be very script-based filmmaker because I believe in writing. But actually with the cinema, I don't believe in script. So I don't know if it is good to tell you, maybe you should believe, since you're still in the school, you should be better, obedient, because no good to be rebel from beginning. But anyway, I didn't really believe much of script writing for cinema. I know in Europe, in France, the script is so much a Bible. They really judge the project from the script. And this film went through, of course, the usual funding process. I went to CNC, French Arte, from Sud, for the Chinese cinema.
Because maybe it's important to tell, maybe it's obvious, maybe not, that Xiaolu Guo works in Western system of production.
Yeah.
She shoots her film in China, but
only
their
last
film,
two films, though.
Yeah.
Only shoot Chinese and this one, because it needs a bit more money, and also the sensitive subject.
But for example, when you have a script more defined, like the one for those last two films, what happened on the set? I mean, is the film in the final status very different?
It's made from the editing room, of course. But I just go back there because I didn't have a chance to say the script, how much I paid to script. And then I come back to this. So I say the script in Europe is the Bible, yeah, which I don't believe. And I really hate that way of measure a film project to give funding or not. So this project was very difficult because I didn't receive any French money actually in the end. Because the script is very free, very loose, because I had a novel. So when I send the script, I say, okay, look at the novel, script is just some kind of dry, boring description of the novel. And they said, yeah, but come on, this is not cinematic. So I just had twice refused actually from French funding. So I was very surprised because I think this is really my most strong project. So what I try to say is they didn't think the script is Bible strong enough to deliver a kind of film. They don't understand. So in the script, the police part, of course, I only have one line. This is in black and white. And then when the narrative come out, I say, okay, this is in color. So I think for a script reader, they feel very difficult to think how it's gonna be like in black and white, and they think how you transfer from the color to black and white. Is there color transformation or sound or what kind of thing to help this transition? And so I understand for a script reader, they just feel challenged, and they don't feel safe to give you the funding money. So that's the difficulty, if you make a script in a non-conventional way, and it's not very readable, yeah. Because this script is not very readable because it's a really complicated story. So then you face the difficulty. They're not going to give you the funding. So I failed for 2 years in France, and then luckily I had this German producing company who read the novel first and think, come on, the story is there. And so they really believed it. They have no problem with this vision. But saying that, I think you need to respect the script, but also you shouldn't be limited by the script, because script is totally another form. It's constructed by words. Hey, this is not cinema, So the words is not cinema, and the problem is how you can find truly cinematic language to replace the words description. So you can say marvelous thing in the script, but it's not cinematic. And I think that would be the really, in the early filmmaking career, maybe that is the most crucial problem you might facing is it turns out something else or much, much worse, or turns out much more cinematic than your dry script was. But in my case, because my background is writer, so I have this desire to recreating new different little story during the shooting. So I walk around, I have this script already, and a bunch of the actors, well, actually they're peasants, they're not actors, so they never go to cinema. It's from very little village in Guangxi province, which is on the border towards Vietnam. So some peasants, like Farmer Wang, he never went to the cinema, so he doesn't know what I'm doing. I just say your line. Say you are a peasant, say this is your buffalo. And he said, but that's not really my buffalo, it's my neighbor, someone's buffalo. I said, don't care, it's your buffalo, now it's all yours. Yeah? So then I understand, it's no way he will say the lines you want. So he will change. For example, you really need to have lots of patience. He will say, that tree, I think that woman, which woman was it? So what is called UFO. So he couldn't really remember the structure of the dialogue. So then you really have to change totally. You say, look, how do you say things? You say your wife first, say your son first. And he has his own logic of saying a story. And you really need to, according to his logic here. And then slowly find a way to make up your script in his story. So meaning you have to shoot a lot take with him and never be angry with him. Because non-professional actors, they don't believe contract, there's no contract. He said, no, I go home. Sorry, bye, I go home. I cook, go home. Then you lose your film. So things like that. So in that sense, your script is nothing in a way, But your script should be in your brain, which really dominant, manipulate, control the set, but shouldn't be in the shooting process. Because then you really lose the strength of these real peasants or these non-professional actors. Quality, you will lose them instead of use them. So in a way that I don't remember what that scene's about, because you will be so much taken by the environment and by those peasants. And I think that's something is about human relation. During the shooting is, I guess as a filmmaker you need to be a good politician. And that's something very important as well, especially my background as a poet, novel. I hate most of the human being which nothing to do with my word, yeah? So I'm like totally non-social, antisocial, problematic artist. And that's really difficult if you try to make a fiction film. So which I learn now a lot, how to make peace with the people you work with. Even you dislike some people in the set. And somehow you need to be a good politician to make sure they are in more or less a similar rhythm and calm with you. That's crucial for a fiction film, yeah.
And how do you choose the non-professional actor?
I think it's more face and energy.
Mm.
Yeah. So in the film, there's, as I said, there's 8 protagonists. So apart from Kwok Yun and Chief Chang, they has to be so good with the drama line. The rest are just a bunch of very old, 85 years old fisherman and a farmer, you know. So I was casting, you know, with my German producer. So, and I think it's good. Sometimes you have a Westerner, a Westerner, you know. So for me, this old peasant, not that unusual, you know, since he just like my grandfather, yeah, like any grandfather. But for Western producer, like say, what a face, you know, he is crazy. I say, well, maybe he is. So, so I think sometimes it's good to really to have someone totally doesn't understand what's going on with their culture, and its face. And it was very difficult. There's an old fisherman in the film has to commit suicide, yeah, in the film. So I was walking around the bank, the Yangtze River. Frederick must be into the beautiful Yangtze River in China. So I walk around. I was desperate. Try to find a like 85 or 90 years old real fisherman, look really desperately sad, want to kill himself. I have to find someone like that. So I walk around the days, you know, just to check every old people cannot walk in the street. Hey, are you okay? And then, oh no, he's too healthy. But you know, it's something like that, yeah. And everyone in China is too healthy, you know, they can't kill themselves. You know? We don't believe in commit suicide somehow. Yeah. Anyway, so we don't have this psychological, you know, big analysis in China. You know, it's so we were walking around. I was really kind of sad, you know, how can we find a depressed old man want to kill himself? And then one day, this old fisherman on the bank just say some crazy thing to me, which non-understandable, you know, even local people doesn't understand. I don't know what he's speaking, he's just totally mentally mad. And then I look at him, what a great face, which in the future you will see this fisherman, really, he's like 90 something. And then I say, can you do something with camera? He said, oh, which camera, what camera? It's just totally clueless. And I said, but if you sit on my boat, pay me 5 yuan, I do whatever you want, yeah. Something like that. But so that was the beginning, so I was sitting, I was very bored, you know, I had to just make him happy. I don't care the boat, the landscape. So I was observing him, he totally not in the word, he talking some crazy stuff. And then, so I really love this face. So I asked him to come to hotel again, just to say some line, like, just say one line, please, you know, grandpa, please say one line, say, my daughter is useless, yeah, because that's in the film, yeah, in the very important. If you see that line, I have my film, you know, but he's actually protagonist. He said, my daughter is useless, but I don't have a daughter, but things like that, you know, he just couldn't cooperate, so, but it was very long, like, you say rehearsal, but I think it's more like formulating him to understand when he talk, he has to talk this way, but the camera is there. But when he talk, he intends to go to the backwards and give you the back. So just the body language like that, you know, just like very, very patient to say, when you talk, you see lots of people there, maybe talk to that way, you know, so things like that. So, but he turns out he really agreed to do the commit suicide thing, to drown himself in the lake. Of course, he can swim, you know. And I was I think morally, was another big issue about morality. In the film school, the moral doesn't threaten you as a filmmaker, but when you come out from film school, when you, especially making documentary films, the moral is a big issue. Because you have this camera with you, you can rape anything you want. Everyone's scared of you because you have this camera. And this moral issue comes out as a filmmaker, which really threatens me all the time. For example, with the old man, he's really very old, he's dying. And then I said to him, today, you have to pretend you die. And he was so sad to hear that. And I said, not only die, you have to float on this lake which full of rubbish. And when I say that, morally, I'm already, you know, like demon, I'm demon. And he was like already very crying face. And I said, the reason you die because, yeah, blah, blah, this and that. And you need to float there, you can't speak. We're going to rescue you out from the lake, and you have to lie there, die for at least half an hour.